Welcome to my books and story time by mybooksummary.com. Let's explore. The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. In the small Russian town of Skotoprigynivsk, a troubled and dysfunctional family takes center stage. The patriarch, Fyodor Pavlovich Karamazov, is a man of debauchery and greed. He is known for his lack of moral restraint, his indulgence in alcohol and women, and his neglect of his three sons. These sons, Dmitry, Mitya, Ivan and Alexei Alyosha, are as different from one another as they are from their father, yet they are all bound by his influence in ways they cannot escape. Dmitry, the eldest, is passionate, impulsive, and tormented by his own contradictions. He is capable of great love and great violence, constantly torn between desire and guilt. Ivan, the middle son, is a cold intellectual, a man of reason who struggles with the idea of God and morality. He sees the world as cruel and unjust, and his philosophical musings on suffering will later play a crucial role in the novel. Alyosha, the youngest, is gentle and devout, a novice monk who embodies faith and kindness. Though he appears the least troubled, he is deeply affected by the turmoil around him. There is also a fourth, illegitimate son, Pavel Smerdyakov, a sullen and enigmatic young man who works as a servant in the Karamazov household. He was conceived under horrific circumstances, the result of Fyodor's assault on a mentally ill woman. Though he is often overlooked, Smerdyakov harbors deep resentment and possesses a cunning intelligence that will shape the course of events. A rivalry over love and money. Dmitry, who has been promised an inheritance from his deceased mother, finds himself embroiled in a bitter dispute with his father over money. Fyodor, ever the miser, refuses to give him what is rightfully his, leading to violent confrontations. But their conflict is not just about wealth. It is also about love. Both father and son have fallen for the same woman, the captivating Grushenka. She is beautiful, manipulative, and torn between them, enjoying the power she holds over their emotions. Dmitry, already unstable, becomes increasingly desperate. He is drowning in debt, borrowing money from various people in town, and spiraling into a state of madness. His jealousy and rage toward his father intensify, and he begins to speak openly of killing him. His behavior is erratic, his actions reckless, and those around him fear that he may do something terrible. Meanwhile, Ivan struggles with existential questions. His famous conversation with Alyosha about the Grand Inquisitor lays out his belief that God, if he exists, has abandoned humanity. He argues that free will is a burden, that human suffering is unjustifiable, and that morality is meaningless without divine justice. His words shake Alyosha, who desperately clings to his faith, and they foreshadow the darkness that is about to consume the Karamazov family. The murder of Fyodor Karamazov. One fateful night, Fyodor Pavlovich is brutally murdered in his home. His skull is crushed, and his money, the 3,000 rubles he had set aside for Grushenka, is stolen. The town is in shock, and suspicion immediately falls on Dmitry. He had been seen behaving wildly, speaking of his desire to kill his father, and running through the streets covered in blood on the night of the murder. Though he protests his innocence, the evidence against him is overwhelming. Dmitry is arrested and put on trial, but the real question lingers: who actually committed the murder? The truth, though hidden at first, is far more complex than it seems. It was not Dmitry who killed Fyodor, but Smerdyakov. The illegitimate son, filled with quiet resentment and nihilism, had long planned the murder. Inspired by Ivan's words about morality and the absence of divine punishment, he carried out the crime, believing himself to be free from guilt. Ivan, who had unknowingly planted the idea in Smerdyakov's mind, is devastated when he learns the truth. He is consumed by guilt, realizing that his philosophical musings have led to real consequences. Smerdyakov, seeing that Ivan is emotionally broken, confesses to the crime. But then, in a final act of defiance, he takes his own life, ensuring that the truth dies with him. The trial of Dmitry Karamazov. Despite his innocence, Dmitry stands trial for his father's murder. The courtroom is filled with tension as the prosecution presents its case. Witnesses describe his violent outbursts, his hatred for his father, and his desperate need for money. The stolen rubles, found in his possession, seem to seal his fate. His defense, led by a brilliant but desperate lawyer, tries to argue that Dmitri is not guilty, not because he is incapable of violence, but because he did not commit this particular crime. But the jury, swayed by the weight of circumstantial evidence, finds him guilty. Dmitri is sentenced to exile in Siberia, a fate he accepts with a strange mix of resignation and hope. He dreams of escaping with Grushenka, who has remained loyal to him, but his future remains uncertain. Ivan's breakdown and Alyosha's redemption. As the trial unfolds, Ivan's mental state deteriorates. He is haunted by hallucinations, including a conversation with the devil, a grotesque, mocking figure that torments him with his own doubts and contradictions. The devil tells him that suffering is meaningless, that humans are incapable of true love, and that he himself is nothing more than a collection of ideas. This conversation marks Ivan's complete breakdown. He collapses, feverish and delirious, consumed by the weight of his own guilt. He realizes that his rejection of morality has led to real destruction, and he is powerless to undo the damage. Alyosha, the only truly pure-hearted character, remains the beacon of hope. He tends to those in need, particularly a young boy named Ilyusha, who is dying of illness. Through Alyosha, Dostoevsky presents his vision of redemption, not through philosophy or power, but through love and kindness. Alyosha's faith, though shaken at times, remains strong. He is not a naive idealist, but a man who chooses goodness despite the darkness around him. In the novel's final scene, Alyosha gathers a group of children and speaks to them of hope, faith, and the importance of remembering those who have passed. He tells them that true meaning is found in love, and that no suffering is in vain if it leads to compassion. Final thoughts. A masterpiece of philosophy and emotion, The Brothers Karamazov is more than just a story of murder and family strife. It is a deep exploration of human nature. Dostoevsky masterfully weaves together theology, philosophy, and psychology, asking questions that have no easy answers. The novel examines the existence of God, the nature of free will, and whether morality can exist in a world without divine justice. Dmitri represents the passionate, impulsive side of human nature, constantly struggling between love and destruction. Ivan embodies cold reason, intelligence without compassion, and the dangers of unchecked philosophy. Alyosha is the soul, the part of humanity that seeks goodness and faith even in the face of suffering. And Smerdyakov, the forgotten son, represents nihilism, the consequence of believing in nothing at all. Even after more than a century, The Brothers Karamazov remains one of the most profound novels ever written. It is a book that does not provide easy answers, but instead forces readers to confront their own beliefs about justice, faith, and redemption. It is a novel that lingers in the mind long after the final page, reminding us that, in the end, the greatest struggle is always within ourselves. Stay tuned for more enlightening content. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe the world icons.